Well, hello and welcome to this special expert Q&A. I am for ExecuNet, Tony Vlahos, and seated virtually right next to me, or across from me, depending on your perspective, is one of my favorite colleagues, and her name is Saundra Batz. Saundra is an executive career strategist and an over 50 job search specialist. She's also a former executive recruiter who has helped place close to 1,000 executives. I might be off by just a few, right? Today, we're talking about age discrimination in your job search. While direct questions about age rarely get asked, ageism is a real issue for anyone into their 50s. So if you're an older professional, and even if you aren't, it's important to know how to overcome the challenges so you can get the role you want and deserve. Really important stuff, and a part of our daily commitment here at ExecuNet to connect with trusted voices, people like Saundra, who really understand what you're going through and know how to guide you to your next great career destination. Hey, Saundra, welcome.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you for having me. I look forward to our Q&A with the members.
It's always a pleasure, right? So I want to begin with a general question, Saundra. What is happening right now in the executive employment market? There seems to be a lot of activity, job creation is reported up. Is there a lot of hiring too? Are you seeing a mix of things? Can you please share?
Yes, so there's a lot of movement. There's absolutely a lot of movement. There's people, I mean, normally the average executive role is around 18 months to 2 years. That shocks some people, but the analogy that best works is the higher you are in the ocean, the more you feel the waves. And these waves happen more frequently in general in the past 10 years because we've become a disruptive economy. So the more disruption happens, companies pivot quicker, shift directions, shift business lines that they're working on. New investors come in. And then you add some uncertainty into the marketplace, which is happening right now. And all of a sudden, there's even more shifting. One of the reasons that executive hiring is up right now is because of that uncertainty. And when there is uncertainty for how to navigate, think of yourself when you're an executive, whether you're a C-level person or even a manager level person, but you're the top person that does the thing you do, you're the subject matter expert. They need somebody to come in and be the captain of that ship. It may be the company, it may be that business line, it may be that it may be a particular function, but you are the captain of that ship. So hunting out subject matter expertise that can navigate becomes even more active when there are more waves. And I would define the market that we're in right now as a whole lot of waves.
I love the analogy. So if you're an over 50 executive, Saundra, what does your competition these days really look like? Given that they're looking for captains, who else is vying for that role?
Well, the competition is thicker. So here's why. Because there was a time when the longer that you've done something or the more experience you've had, the more you were thought to be a subject matter expert. That is not the case anymore. There are companies that are doing particular things that haven't even been around for maybe the 20 or 30 years that maybe an executive has experience in. So what is happening is people are becoming subject matter experts quicker. Also, it kind of started around the 2008 recession. A lot of people that came into the market around that time realized that there was no job security per se. And this job security, the only job security that was out there was a knowledge base and a marketability. So while we used to kind of look down on people that moved around from company to company, they were doing this because they learned that the only security that they had, given that a company is going to make decisions for fiscal reasons, not for time spent anymore, and that they had to keep moving to get that next level of experience as their only real job security. And so you have people that have been in the professional world now for about 15 years that have had lots of different experiences, and they've seen a lot of different things. And so whether it's 15 years doing that particular thing or 30 years doing that particular thing, you can be seen as a subject matter expert if you have the right message delivery on that.
Mhm. Let's talk a little bit about the mindset of the over 50 job seeker. I said it earlier, and I believe it to be true, it's a real bias. But often it seems, and I want you to just kind of share your perspective because you work with so many. Often it seems that our own psychological insecurities can get in the way of us accomplishing what we want. We tell ourselves we're old. We obsess about the way we might look. We tell ourselves we won't be heard. No one will understand our value. Is this what you're experiencing as well when you work with over 50 executives?
Well, biases and isms, 99% of the time, they're real. They exist. I just happen to be more interested in the ism that is ageism because I happen to be an over 50. I mean, it took me a long time to stop dyeing my hair because I was worried about what it would look like to have all gray hair. And I think to navigate this, it's important to understand what an ism is, what it actually at the core of it is. And then you can think about, how do I deal with that? So an ism is like a stigma. So what are stigmas? What are stereotypes? Scientifically speaking, our brains are having 30 thoughts per second. And in the first 2 or 3 seconds we see something, we're automatically going to tell ourselves a story. That's how we consciously process these 30 thoughts that are coming in, and don't even get me started on the thousands of stimuli per second. But these thoughts are thoughts and that are all different for everybody, and they're based on past experiences. So one person's experience in life is completely different than another person's experience in life, and some of them are very similar. But we take our 30 seconds of, or we take our 30 thoughts per second, and in the first few seconds, we form a narrative around that. And whatever story we tell ourselves, all our brain is going to do is look for evidence to prove ourselves right. So you may have heard this in the science of the first impression or the self-confirming bias. I know a lot of leaders that are probably listening right now are very familiar with that. So what happens is somebody's going to develop this narrative about us right off the top. What most people don't know is how much influence they can have over that narrative. Now, you, Tony, you're the CMO of ExecuNet. Okay, you understand what it means to form a narrative and tell that story. And when we take it upon ourselves to help control that narrative, because there's a lot we can do in that, even in the first few seconds, even, believe it or not, before they even see us, before they even talk to us, even by the way the resume is written. A good example is I was talking to one of the members, I think it was about a week ago, and we were talking about the good old ageism. And we hadn't, it was something that he made a note that he wanted to talk about, but we hadn't gotten to the topic yet. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to send you an email right now real quick to do a screen share. Should I use the AOL email that you have with us? And he's like, yeah, that's my email. I've had it for you know, 25 years and it hasn't steered me wrong. So if it does not broke, don't fix it. And by the time we got to ageism, the topic, I used that as an example that more people are saying things in conversation or even on their resume. It doesn't have to do, the tricking people on your resume, that doesn't work. Oh, I'm going to leave off these jobs down here. Well, that's not helpful, because that could have been an integral part of what your value story is. Or I'm not going to put dates on it, or I'm going to not put my date of graduation. There are much more powerful things that are put on your resume that can feed into those stigmas. And here are the stigmas of ageism. I do things my way or the highway. I don't change. I'm inflexible. I don't like technology. I'm not into that newfangled stuff. Whenever you're feeding into a lot of these stigmas, you're doing nothing to change that narrative. And if you can change the narrative, if you can control the narrative, it doesn't matter how gray your hair is.